I'm 93 years old, and I've lived long enough to understand that time isn't something you feel passing. It's something you notice only when it's gone. I'm not saying this to sound wise. I'm saying it because I didn't realize it myself until I was already too far along. And by then, most of the people I wanted to say it to. At my age, the days feel strangely quiet. Even when someone visits, even when the television is on, even when the kettle whistles, there's a softness to everything. Like the world has turned its volume down. Maybe it's because I've outlived too many people. Or maybe it's because the noise I used to carry inside me, the ambition, the rushing, the plans, has finally burned itself out. The truth is, it took me 72 years to understand something I should have seen much earlier. And if I sound tired when I say that, it's because I am. Tired in a way that comes not from the body, but from knowing what can't be undone. I'm not telling you this to teach a lesson. I don't have the strength for teaching anymore. I just want to leave something behind that isn't a box of old photos or a drawer full of papers nobody will read. Something that has a little warmth in it, maybe a little truth. When I look back at my life, the strange thing is, I didn't do anything dramatic. That's what surprises me. I didn't ruin things with one big decision. I didn't storm out of the house and never return. I didn't say something so terrible it ended a relationship. No, it was quieter than that. I simply kept postponing the things that mattered. I always thought there'd be more time to visit my parents, more time to sit with my wife after dinner instead of clearing the table and getting a head start on the next day's work, more time to call an old friend, more time to rest, more time to listen. I used to think this way when I was in my 20s. I was a young man with a job that didn't pay much, but kept me busy. Long hours, nothing impressive to show for it. But I told myself it was temporary. I'd work hard now so I could relax later. That's what everyone said in those days. Work first, live later. Later always felt so far away. I remember coming home late, the house dark except for the light my wife left on in the living room. She'd be asleep on the sofa sometimes, a book on her chest, the radio humming softly. She'd wake up when I opened the door, smile in that sleepy, warm way she had, and ask me if I'd eaten. I usually hadn't. She'd get up, eat something, sit with me for a while, and then head back to bed. And I thought I had all the time in the world to repay that kindness. In my 30s, things were steadier. I had a better job. We had a little house. We weren't rich, but we were fine. That's the funny thing. Fine feels safe when you're living it. But when you look back, you don't remember fine. You remember the moments that happened around it, the things you barely noticed while they were happening. I used to work Saturdays, voluntarily. My boss didn't ask me to. I just thought it was what a responsible man should do. And I told myself I'd make it up to my wife by taking her somewhere nice on Sundays. But Sundays always found a way to slip away. Chores, errands, a phone call I had to make, a nap I didn't mean to take. Time leaks through tiny cracks like that. You don't notice it until the floorboards are soaked. By my 40s, I had settled into routines so deeply that I stopped questioning them. I thought I was building something. A stable life, a respectable career, a future that would make sense. But what I was really doing was distracting myself. With work, with small goals, with the comfort of being busy. Busy feels good when you're young. It feels like progress. But all it really does is keep you from noticing what's slipping away. There were small things I missed that I didn't think were important at the time. My father's invitation to join him on a fishing trip. I said no because I was tired. My mother asking me to visit for lunch. I told her I had deadlines. A friend from school calling to catch up. I asked him if we could talk later. Later didn't come. These didn't feel like big losses then. Just ordinary decisions made on ordinary days, but they accumulate. Not in memory. Memory is selective. They accumulate in your life in ways you only understand years afterward. Then the turning point arrived, but I didn't recognize it at first. My wife got sick, not suddenly, not in a dramatic way. Just a little cough at first, then fatigue she couldn't shake. We thought it was something small, a seasonal thing. She still smiled, still asked me if I'd eaten, still put her hand on my arm when she passed me in the hallway. But it lingered. And then it got worse. And the doctors started looking at us with that careful expression that tells you they're choosing their words. I remember sitting beside her in the hospital room. Machines humming softly. The window cracked open to let in the evening air. She looked small in the bed, smaller than I'd ever seen her. I apologized to her. I didn't plan to. It just came out. And she looked at me with this expression, tired but gentle, and said, "For what? For what?" As if she really didn't know. I didn't answer. I couldn't. It wasn't one thing. It wasn't one failure. It was everything I had postponed. Every conversation I rushed through. Every moment I told myself could wait. All those years when she gave me her time freely, and I treated it like something renewable. She passed away, and the house became silent in a way I wasn't prepared for. Not the peaceful kind of silence I feel now. This was a sharp silence. A silence that echoed. I'd wake up hearing her voice in the next room, and then I'd remember it was just memory playing tricks. That's when the clarity finally came. Too late, far too late, but unmistakable. You don't lose people all at once. You lose them in pieces, in the small moments you didn't appreciate, the missed dinners, the quick goodbyes, the maybe tomorrow promises, and you lose yourself the same way. My biggest mistake wasn't that I worked too much, or that I didn't say the right things. It was that I assumed the important people in my life would wait for me, that there'd always be one more day. That later was real. I realized, sitting alone in that house, that later is just a story you tell yourself to ease the discomfort of now. I tried to fix things. I really did. I called old friends, but most numbers didn't work anymore. I visited my parents' graves and stood there with flowers, knowing they couldn't hear anything I said. I wrote letters I wasn't sure who to send to. I filled notebooks with thoughts I should have shared decades earlier. But the thing about time is that once it's gone, it doesn't leave anything to grab onto. It just leaves space. And you have to learn to live in that space. Now, at 93, I don't pretend to have grand wisdom. I don't pretend to know what anyone should do. I can barely tell you what I should have done. But I can tell you what I wish I had understood sooner. I wish I had slowed down. Not stopped, just slowed enough to notice. I wish I hadn't treated the people I loved as obligations I needed to manage. I wish I had asked more questions, listened more carefully, stayed longer in the doorway when someone said something meaningful. I wish I had taken fewer photographs and spent more time looking, really looking. I wish I hadn't believed that being useful was the same as being present. And I wish I had understood that relationships aren't maintained by big gestures. They're maintained by small moments, minutes, not hours, and those minutes disappear if you're not paying attention. Sometimes I think about what people remember of me. Not in a dramatic way, just a quiet wondering. I doubt it's any of the accomplishments I worked so hard for. I doubt it's the long hours or the meetings or the deadlines. It's probably the small things. A ride I gave someone, a joke I told, a kindness I didn't realize I offered. Or maybe it's nothing at all. That's the part I try not to dwell on too long. As you get older, your world shrinks. Not out of tragedy, just out of nature. The phone rings less. Holidays get quieter. People forget to ask how you're doing, and you forget how to answer in a way that sounds true. Loneliness becomes a kind of companion, one you stop fighting because you no longer have the strength. But there's something else, too. Something softer. You start to feel grateful for the small things you still have. The morning light through the window. The sound of someone's laughter on the sidewalk. A cup of tea that's just the right temperature. A memory that doesn't hurt as much as it used to. Life becomes smaller, but in some ways, clearer. If you're listening to this, I suppose all I want is for you to pay attention to the moments you'll wish you had back later. Not because you're supposed to, but because they're the only things that stay with you. If this meant something to you, I hope you'll sit with it for a while. Not for me, I won't know, but for yourself. Think about the people you care about and how you move through your days with them. Think about what you want to remember when you're old and what you hope they'll remember of you. I'm not trying to scare you. Age does that well enough on its own. I'm just speaking from the place I'm in now, a place where most of my life is behind me. And the only thing left is honesty. My time is limited. I can feel it in my bones, in the way I breathe, in the way my mind wanders more than it used to. I don't know how many more mornings I'll get. I don't spend much energy thinking about it, but I do think about the people I loved, and the time I wasted, and the moments I didn't know were precious until they were gone. If you carry anything from what I've said, let it be this. Notice the small things. In the end, that's all I have left to give.